Brexit was intense or insane before, or let's say chaotic before, well, you haven't seen anything yet. They've taken it up a notch and then some. I'm at the facility yesterday, at the clinic yesterday, doctor's appointment, and I am looking at the television screen that's on Fox News, and Fox News is showing British politics. This blew me away. And the showing me of British politics, what they show me floors me even more. Brexit was already chaotic. The Prime Minister has lost 2 major votes on her withdrawal bill. It is in utter chaos. There is no plan B at this point. And the Prime Minister's plan, up to this point, has been to bring back her withdrawal bill again. Now, she was supposed to get concessions from the European Union, concessions that she did not get. At very least, she didn't get them to, let's say, the satisfaction of the DUP and other people who were in Parliament, other ministers, because they voted her bill down in historic numbers, at least the first time. The second time around was nearly as bad. So the Prime Minister's plan essentially was to bring the bill back over and over and over and over again, a third, potentially even a fourth time. Bercow, Speaker Bercow, involves himself into this process. Now they leave on March, I think it's like 29th. They leave March 29th. Bercow gives this mind-blowing, stunning statement, doesn't tell anybody he's going to do it, and he comes out and says, I am blocking the Prime Minister from bringing her withdrawal bill back a third time if it doesn't have substantial changes. You can't just change the wording. You have to change the bill itself. There needs to be substantial changes in that bill for me, Bercow, to allow you to bring that bill back. Now, Bercow is one of my favorite people in British politics. He amazingly seems, at least from my vantage point, fair. You couldn't even tell his party affiliation if you didn't know anything about, if you didn't know him. And in this case, of course, this is going to be somewhat of a lightning rod for criticism in some camps and praise in other camps. The Brexiteers loves this because it stops this withdrawal bill from going through. By the same token, there is no plan B. This is utter and absolute chaos. It is possible for the Prime Minister to get around this, but it's not a typical process. I mean, ultimately, she would have to end the session itself, or she would have to find some way to get enough votes together to override Bercow, which the Prime Minister has been losing pretty badly lately. I don't necessarily know if she wants to bring herself up for another major vote. Let's take a look at the statement. The statement is awesome. I love the way Bercow talks. I mean, the British accent thing, man, is real. Like the between the American accent and the British accent, the British accent, man, is phenomenal.
Order. I wish to make a statement to the House. There has been much speculation over the past week about the possibility of the government bringing before the House a motion on Brexit for another so-called meaningful vote under the statutory framework provided in the EU Withdrawal Act 2018. On the 13th of March, however, the Right Honourable Lady, the member for Wallasey, asked on a point of order at column 394 whether it would be proper for the government to keep bringing the same deal back to the House ad infinitum. I replied that no ruling was necessary at that stage, but that one might be required at some point in the future. Subsequently, members on both sides of the House, and indeed on both sides of the Brexit argument, have expressed their concerns to me about the House being repeatedly asked to pronounce on the same fundamental proposition. The 24th edition of Erskine May states on page 397 that, and I quote, a motion or an amendment which is the same in substance as a question which has been decided during a session may not be brought forward again during that same session. It goes on to state that, and I quote, attempts have been made to evade this rule by raising again, with verbal alterations, the essential portions of motions which have been negatived. Whether the second motion is substantially the same as the first is finally a matter for the judgment of the chair. This convention is very strong and of long standing, dating back to the 2nd of April, 1604. Last Thursday, the Honourable Gentleman, the Member for Rhondda, quoted examples of occasions when the ruling had been reasserted by 4 different speakers of this House, notably in 1864, 1870, 1882, 1891, and 1912. Each time the Speaker of the day ruled that a motion could not be brought back because it had already been decided in that same session of Parliament.
Bercow's reasoning for this, and it's not entirely Bercow's reasoning for this, meaning the ruling that Bercow is talking about here makes the point that when I make this point about can't have the referendum over and over again, you had a vote. The people made a choice. And in the context of those people making that choice, either that choice has weight or that choice doesn't. Meaning, if the choice has weight, if the choice matters, if the people that were involved in the process said, yes, this particular organization, this particular body, we are making choices, and these choices have a gravity associated with those choices, and they have effects out in larger communities, meaning it doesn't just stay here, it reverberates out into the larger country. I mean, after all, we are making choices for the country itself, and we're supposed to be representing the people within the country itself. Our choices have weight. And so this notion that something that has weight and gravity, you do it over and over and over and over again, you shouldn't have to do it over and over and again. You should be able to do it once. And that's it. If it has weight. If the choices matter. It's unfair to keep going with the same proposition over and over again. He's going to go into this, and I'm going to let him say it, because he says it in a particularly British way.
Indeed, Erskine May makes reference to no fewer than 12 such rulings up to the year 1920. One of the reasons why the rule has lasted so long is that it is a necessary rule to ensure the sensible use of the House's time and the proper respect for the decisions which it takes. Decisions of the House matter. They have weight. In many cases, they have direct effects, not only here, but on the lives of our constituents. Absence of Speaker intervention since 1920 is attributable not to the discontinuation of the Convention, but to general compliance with it. Thus, as Erskine May notes, the Public Bill Office has often disallowed bills on the ground that a bill with the same or very similar long title cannot be presented again in the same session. So far as our present situation is concerned, let me summarise the chronology of events. The draft EU withdrawal agreement, giving effect to the deal between the government and the EU, was published on the 14th of November, and the agreement for that postponement should be sought. Tuesday, the 12th of March. The government's motion on the deal was again very heavily defeated. In my judgment, that second meaningful vote motion did not fall foul of the Convention about matters already having been decided during the same session. This was because it could credibly be argued that it was a different proposition objected to.
I know I'm skipping through this. It's more so because I don't necessarily want to get hit with copying video. I've already played right much of this. But I wanted to give you his logic on this. I love this. Part of his point here is, look, the first time around, it was a different proposition. Meaning, even though the withdrawal bill was fundamentally the same withdrawal bill, the proposition was slightly different because the Prime Minister said she was going to get a change on the backstop. Well, that would have been a fundamentally different bill-ish if she could have get that concession. That particular bill, without the withdrawal, without the backstop, may have been able to get through Parliament. Maybe. I mean, it's possible that the backstop was being used as an excuse, in which case they could just lean on that excuse for not wanting to support the bill or Brexit. But nevertheless, in this very specific case, his argument is, look, the first withdrawal agreement and part two were different because the propositions were somewhat different. If the Prime Minister brings that bill back again, that would essentially be the same bill that's being brought back. We don't allow the exact same language of the bill to be brought back over and over and over. Think of the Republicans trying to take down Obamacare over and over and over and over and over again. There's no speaker to stop anything like that in our politics. At least none that will be fair and impartial. Let's go back to Bercow.
By it. In procedural terms, it was therefore quite proper that the debate, that third and even possibly fourth meaningful vote motions will be attempted. Hence this statement, which is designed to signal what would be orderly and what would not. This is my conclusion. If the government wishes to bring forward a new proposition that is neither the same nor substantially the same as that disposed of by the House on the 12th of March, this would be entirely in order. What the government cannot legitimately do is to resubmit to the House the same proposition or substantially the same proposition as that of last week, which was rejected by 149 votes. This ruling should not be regarded as my last word on the subject. It is simply meant to indicate the test which the government must meet in order.
He goes on to make the point that I can change my mind on this. Not on this very specific point, but more so, this is not my last word on this. My word can change on this depending upon the factors that come up. Meaning, if some new factor comes into play, then Bercow could all of a sudden come up with a different ruling. But in this very specific case, this is throwing everything into chaos. I mean, they have no idea what's going to come next at this point. And there is, up to this point, no plan B with the exception of postponement. But postponement is not necessarily a plan to figure out what you're going to do. Stay tuned. I think that's everything associated with this. I'm pretty sure there's more. There's stuff that's always taking place and happening. But this bill or this rule goes all the way back. I think he said to 16 something. Like that's astonishing. Since the existing law, which sets the new account, was replaced, the 1911 Parliament Act required 3 parliamentary sessions to pass before Commons could overturn the law. That's something different. I thought I had highlighted it. Okay, right here. This goes back to 1604. That's astonishing. He said the convention had been confirmed again many times, including 1864, 1870, 1882, 1891, 1912. Indeed, Erskine May makes reference to no fewer than 12 such rulings up to the year 1920. That is what is going on in the UK right now. Utter and entire chaos. Utter entire chaos. All right, I'm going to end this here because I have a bunch of other videos that I want to do. If you guys enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe. You can always support the PayPal or Patreon. And I'll be back here in about 30 minutes. I know my time can be a little bit dodgy, but I have the videos already lined up, so I'll see you in a few.